Welcome to today's discussion on iOS. iOS is one of the mobile operating systems which is very much famous. It runs on Apple devices. The other operating systems that are very much popular are Android and Windows Mobile. Android is widely used and iOS is used only on the Apple devices. In the case of Android, it is used on number of devices that are manufactured by different vendors. But in the case of iOS, it is manufactured by Apple and it runs only on the devices that are manufactured by Apple. iOS, it is a mobile operating system created by Apple for its hardware. It runs iPhone, iPad and iPod Touch. So, though there are large number of Apple devices, it is not essential that iOS runs on each and every Apple device. It is exclusively made for iPhone, iPad and iPod Touch. In the case of Mac, you have an operating system Mac OS X that will run on the Macs. Macs are nothing but they are the desktop PCs from the Apple. So, iOS is a mobile operating system and Mac OS X is a desktop operating system. Today, we will be seeing about different features of iOS, different versions of iOS and to what extent it is really powerful when compared to other mobile operating systems. Now, before dwelling into it, let us see when iOS was first developed and what is the current version. The first version of iOS is in 2007. So, Apple developed iOS in 2007, that is when the first version of iOS was released. Since then, regularly lot of versions of iOS are getting released and the current version is iOS 12.2. iOS 12.2 is very powerful and it was released on March 25th, 2019. At present, iOS 12.4 is under beta testing and it may be released anytime from now onwards. So, the first version is in 2007 and the latest version is 2019. So, in the 12 years, we have iOS 12.2. So, on average you can say that new version is being released every year and large number of releases of the version are also being released to the market every year. So, one can imagine to what extent it is powerful. Now, let us see what are the features of iOS 12. When we are going through each feature, one can really just think themselves to what extent the same feature is available in Android and Windows Mobile, or if iOS is powerful or Android or Windows Mobile are powerful. But one thing to mention, rather than thinking which operating system is powerful, every operating system is powerful in its own sense in its own device. Because Android is the only mobile operating system that runs on devices that are manufactured by multiple vendors, iOS runs only on Apple devices, Windows Mobile runs only on the Windows devices. Now, let us see the features of iOS 12. It makes your old iPhones and iPad Air perform faster at least 40% and to a maximum of 70% at certain tasks. So, even if you bought an iPad 5s, it still runs on the iPhone 5s and even it runs on the iPad Air series. So, iPad Air and iPhone 5s are bit older, but still iOS runs on both of them. The current version runs on all the devices that are running in between. That is since iPhone 5s until today and since iPad Air series launch until today. The another feature in the iOS 12 is grouped notifications clean up individual notifications. Grouped by the app, topic and thread. It can clear a whole group of notifications with a single swipe. So, with one swipe you can delete almost all the messages of a specific group, and if you think of individual messages, once you wake up in the morning you find large number of individual messages. So, this messages mess will not be there because the iOS will group to you all similar messages and with a single stroke you can delete them. Another advantage of iOS 12 is that it permits you more than one Face ID. Long back we used to have the password, we used to key in the password. Then came the scanning of thumb. So, it is a biometric which is taken as password and recently face is being taken as the password. So, if your face is matching the device face, it allows you to log in. Now, in the case of iPad or iPhone, what happens is that if I am using the iPad or iPhone, so I must be scanning my face and must have stored in it. So, the password is my face, and until I put my face in front of it, it does not open. But in the iOS 12 version, a provision was created for the iOS devices to recognize multiple face IDs. So, in our home, let me say myself and other family members are using iPad, and suppose when I am not there, they want to use it, or even when I am there, I may say please use it. They should be in a position to open it without them consulting me. In the era of password, they need to take password from me, but now they just need to put their face in front of the camera of the iPad, and automatically it scans the face, and if it recognizes and if it matches one of the permissible faces in its database, then it automatically opens. So, iOS 12 is making multiple face IDs a reality. Another thing is we have what is called Siri, the speech assistant, which will be helping us in navigating through iPad. Lot of commands are there in iPad, which we can just speak to Siri and ask it to perform. So, Siri shortcuts can find the lost keys also. So, even if we forget some passwords of individual packages of any of our emails or sites, then Siri can help us in locating those passwords. Latest version of iOS, that is iOS 12.2, it supports group FaceTime with 32 people. See, this is really great, because we can converse with 32 people simultaneously through video calling. We can call anybody, we can bring 32 people into the conference mode, and not only that, we can even bring them into the video calling mode. So, on the screen all 31 people faces will be visible, and in the PIP mode our face will also be visible. So, with 32 people we can chat simultaneously through video with the help of iOS 12.2. It also reports screen time. Earlier we do not know how much time we are using our iPhones or iPads, but now there is a provision within the iOS 12 to know really how much time we are using our mobile device in a day. Accordingly, we can decide to reduce the time, or we can decide to spend more time in case we are thinking that we are not spending enough of time. Instant tuning for accessing the notifications. This is one important feature, and then a new USDZ file type dedicated at augmented reality. iOS 12.2 strongly supports augmented reality, virtual reality, and for them a special file called USDZ file type has been created, and in the cases of all augmented reality apps and our programs, it uses this particular file type. Even if the battery is dead, NFC works. NFC is near field communication. So, in the case of iOS devices, NFC will be in action even if there is a dead battery. And finally, ARKit 2, that is version 2. Initially, we have one ARKit, later we had version 2 also, that is called ARKit 2. ARKit 2 allows for shared experiences for augmented reality multiplayer. Lego, a very popular manufacturer of toys, Fender, Adobe and Pixar, and several others are working with Apple on augmented reality. Siri can now translate over 40 language pairs. So, you do not need a translator, it can translate nearly 40 languages, and password search now is part of Siri's duties on iOS 12, and weather app in iOS 12 wants unhealthy air quality. Until now, we only know the day's temperature, and it can even forecast the temperatures, but now the current app, it can even warn of air pollution. This is a very important development in today's world, where pollution is taking a big toll on the people. Let us see some more features of iOS 12. The most important feature is accessibility. It helps both visually handicapped and hearing handicapped. So, both vision and hearing disabled people can be using the iPad and iPhone, because it is having several apps that will help these people to really live in the world with the same comfort as others are living. Because iOS 12 is having an app called VoiceOver, it reads information on the screen, iOS also supports multitasking. It means that it can perform more than one task at a time. It can switch between applications, and it also supports your privacy when the underlying website is not really protecting your privacy. So, you do not need to think whether a particular website is protecting your privacy or not. It is the operating system iOS which protects your privacy when you are working on your iPad or iPhone. Another important thing is performance. Okay, all said and well said, but what about the performance of this particular operating system iOS? It is 70% faster when you swipe to camera. The camera opens 70% faster when compared to its previous version. It is 50% faster keyboard display, and it is having twice faster app launch under heavy workload. So, even if you are loading your iPad or iPhone heavily, the apps will load very fast. So, this is a very important development. Now, coming to the augmented reality kit, the first version is called AR kit, that is augmented reality kit, and it is the framework on iOS that supports augmented reality. It also enables AR objects to be sent with messages and mail. We also have a new AR app which is called Measure. So, if we point out the camera towards anything, the measure will measure the length of the real world objects. So, this is one app which is using the augmented reality feature and the power of iOS 12. So, it is very clear that iOS operating system which is available on Apple devices is doing great things, and the current version available is iOS 12.2, and the next version expected is iOS 12.4 which is in beta stage. So, this is all about iOS, and it is possible to develop very powerful apps that run on these devices, but you can do that only on a Mac machine. You can't do an app development on iPhone or iPad. So, thank you very much to all of you for attending the today's discussion.